Beach FM, locals talking to locals.
So I'm pleased to welcome Barbara Edmonds to the General Election Show. Barbara, you're standing for Labor in the Mana electorate.
Yes, good morning everybody. Talofa lava malo le tuifua, tēnā koutou katoa. Yes, I'm the Labor candidate for Mana. I'm taking over Kris Faafoi on the seat. Kris will still be around, as Kris has been an amazing part of our community. He's moving on to the list.
Okay, fantastic. So we will get to that a little bit later, actually. I'd love to hear more about what's happening there. But we want to get to know a little bit about you as well, if we can, because it's pretty interesting. You're a first-generation Samoan. Where did your parents settle and raise you and your family?
Yeah, so my parents, like many Pacific Islanders, came to New Zealand, the land of milk and honey, back in the late 70s.
Yep.
They landed in Auckland, in Ponsonby. They lived in a rat-infested house.
Oh, my goodness.
And they moved with the Pacific Tide to South Auckland. And then my father and my mother, with their legal savings and through capitalising their family scheme benefits, they bought a house on Auckland's North Shore. So I was brought up in Auckland, and I moved down with my husband Kris just almost 12 years ago, and we've lived in Titahi Bay, Porirua, since then.
Oh, how wonderful. After high school, you went on to study, so this is still up in Auckland, at the University of Auckland, and you fell pregnant in your second year, and by the time you finished your law and arts degree, 5.5 years later, you were pregnant with baby number 5. Barbara, how did you manage that?
I think the greatest thing about falling pregnant, and it seemed quite weird at the time, was that it gave me purpose and drive.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, a lot of, as young people do when they leave school, you know, they just kind of go into university thinking that they want to do something. I actually started out doing a Bachelor of Health Science and Physiotherapy, and I didn't enjoy it, so I stopped it. Worked in an insurance company for about 18 months, and then I went to become a lawyer. But it comes down to purpose and drive for me. My children gave me the push I needed to complete my degrees, and my husband and I both agreed that completing the law degree was an investment in our family's future.
Sure. And
also it went back to the way my father had brought us up. So my father is the eldest of 11 children to his mother and father.
Wow.
And he was the only one that went past 4th form. So for him, education was huge, and he instilled those values into me and my brothers and sisters from a young age.
Gosh, that's an amazing story. Barbara, you didn't stop there, though. How many children have you got?
So we had 4 Blues rugby babies, and then we've had 4 Hurricanes babies. So it's, that's the way we like to put it. We can put our foot in either door depending on who's won, but I've got to say we're definitely Hurricanes fans in our family.
Oh,
our family is a big rugby family as well. We've been heavily involved in the local rugby club and volunteering. I've been their lawyer for a couple of years now. So.
Yeah. So community and hard work are some core values there I can hear coming through.
Yeah, it is. My husband and I, we were fortunate enough to be brought up in homes, you know, where we had a stable home. We had siblings, but we didn't have much. We were both our families weren't affluent families. So we were from working class families.
Yeah.
And my father in particular, my mother died when I was 4.
Goodness.
So he was a solo dad, and he brought up 4 kids from the age of 40 on the DPB. So for us, it's always been in our heart that we have to look after those around us who may not have much.
Yeah.
So we got involved a lot in our local community, both in sports and education through the local school boards, because we wanted kids that didn't have a choice to go to town schools and had to go to the local schools to go to the best schools. So we worked really hard within the schools and on the boards to support the local schools to get that community engagement back in, because in the end, everyone knows it takes a village to raise a child.
Yes.
And particularly in the likes of Mana, which we have some awesome communities, it's the communities that have the solution. So it's something that we've done just out of service more than anything else.
Sure.
But it's something that holds dear quite true to us both.
It's really nice to hear. It's refreshing to hear, because people are a little bit solo at the moment, and going back to old traditions of everyone bringing up children, I think is the way it should be. But Barbara, you're a specialist tax lawyer and worked in the private, and I know you're quite amazing. You've worked in the private and public sectors. Can you provide me a summary of your professional career to date and how that led you into politics?
Well, so I have over the last 11 years I've got experience in the areas of tax policy and law. So I worked for 5 years in the tax policy unit of IRD. I was their first Pacific tax policy analyst.
Mm-hmm.
So that brings a different perspective to the table.
Yeah.
And then for the last 4 years, I was the IRD tax advisor that they popped into the beehive to look after 2 National Party ministers. And then when the Labor government came in 2017, I then switched. I took on what we call a political role as a ministerial advisor to the Honourable Stuart Nash.
Right.
So for the last 2.5 years, I've been advising on policy around police, tax, small business, serious fraud and fisheries. Prior to that, I've also had, I went back into the insurance industry for a little bit when I finished my law degrees. As you did, when you're currently I'm the sole income earner of a family of 10. So, you need to pretty much branch out and to look at different experiences. So I went back to insurance, and I love the insurance industry and the respect around contracts.
Okay.
And the impact contracts and what people can contract in and out of from an economic sense, and how that can benefit them. So I've got a lot of parliamentary experience. I've lost count of how many bills I've put through the House or helped to get through the House.
Yep.
I was heavily involved in the firearms reforms post the March 15th terror attacks. So when the Prime Minister decided that morning to ban the NSSA, it was I had to pretty much micromanage a lot of that policy stuff from the beehive and work closely with police to get that through Cabinet, and to obviously, as you know, in a coalition government, to negotiate with our partners around those policy settings.
Gosh.
So yeah, lots of I've got a public experience, I've got private experience, and the sort of community stuff that I do in my spare time with our family.
Oh my gosh, is there spare time? Well, there's a saying, isn't there? If you want something done, give it to a busy person.
Yeah, I'm that busy person. So it kind of, for me, what happened is, going back to your question, it was a logical step with Kris stepping off the seat. My phone went off quite busy.
Really?
Weekend. I had lots of phone calls and texts and messages from people saying, "You're from our community, you work in that space, why don't you put your hand up?" And if I'm being really frank with you, I was a no, because I was thinking of my family, and going to politics is the next level.
Yeah.
It's a very public level, and I was thinking of my family. But then what happened was, what finally tipped the scales was the board that I was on at the time at Mana College. We had lost one of our board members over a year ago who had done Creek Fest, who had done the community lunch at Te Rauta Arena, feeding those low-income families and those that were homeless. So he died over a year ago. And then I went to a board meeting, and one of our that was a Thursday, and then on the Saturday, our only male board member passed away.
Oh, goodness.
So he was a very strong Ngāti Toa man who'd been working for decades to provide sporting opportunities for kids in the area, particularly basketball.
Yeah.
So on that Thursday at Takawahia Marae, I was reflecting on everything everybody was saying about him, on everything that everybody was saying about Willie, and I just thought, life's too short.
Yeah.
I might not have decades to try and affect the change that I wanted to see in our community.
Yeah.
So I thought, stuff it, that's it. I'm going to put my hand up and go for it and see where it takes us.
Oh, love it. Stuff it and go for it. Oh, it's fantastic. Kris holds the seat with nearly 11,000 majority. Is that seat, do you think now, with speaking about your involvement in the community, do you think it might be a bit of a fait accompli for you in Labor there? You
can never take anything for granted. And Mana is a very diverse electorate. Most people don't realise it, but it's actually got a large quarter in sort of decile 7 and above, areas of high affluence. And then we've got a pocket, of deprivation here, and, but big, massive heart.
Yes.
So you can never take for granted anybody's vote.
Yeah.
And you have to work hard for everyone. And Kris has done amazing over the last, over the last few terms for us.
Yeah.
And so for me, it was just I wanted to pick up on that work that he started, that those sort of solid foundations for our party within Mana, and then continue it. I cannot guarantee that, I'm going to keep that 11,000 majority, because I have to work hard for every vote. And Kris is, he's been an amazing MP for Mana, and, that was recognised in why he became a minister.
Yes.
So, yeah, he's just an amazing, big shoes to fill, and I'm going to try my best.
They are big shoes to fill. What sort of things that Kris has implemented or that he's been strongly working on that you can see that you would love to just keep running with and add to in Mana?
So specifically for Mana, he's done the one of his most recent announcements around the lending, the truck shops. They used to call them finance, so those sort of truck finance shops.
Okay.
Basically, some of that consumer area, because with coming with a sort of tax background, you kind of understand, and the insurance background, you understand the work around contracts and how important it is that both parties understand what they're getting into. But for Kris, the biggest one for me is the Porirua Regeneration Project. It's $1.5 billion that's been invested in a long-term project to, what they say, regenerate the Porirua East. But actually it comes down to housing,
Okay.
a lot of it.
Yeah.
Warm, safe, dry homes. So a lot of the work that he's done in there in the state housing, because I know for Mana that's one of our big issues is housing, both
Sure.
affordable housing
Yeah.
and for people that want to own homes, but as well as those that cannot afford them, making sure that the homes that the state provide are warm, dry and safe.
Well, that is a good thing to be focusing on. Barbara, I've got some trickier questions for you now.
Yeah, go for it.
So, would you rather eat sweet or savoury?
Oh, definitely sweet.
Definitely sweet. Oh dear.
Yeah, chocolate.
Chocolate's the one. Would you rather be hot or cold?
Hot. I'm Samoan.
Oh, of course. Of course. Beach or forest?
Beach, again.
Again.
I love the beach. Our kids have been involved in the local Titahi Bay Surf Club, and I was on their junior committee for a little bit there. So, and we're a coastal community here in Mana.
Yeah.
So I'm really looking forward to just being able to spend more time out here and spend more time on those waves out, Paikok Beach up in Raumati or here in Titahi Bay.
Oh, it's beautiful, isn't it? Just gorgeous.
We have a beautiful coastline.
Yeah, we do. Coffee or tea?
You know what? I only started coffee about 5 years ago. Now I'm never going back. I'm more coffee.
You might need it to keep you awake with all the work you've got going on and perhaps coming up. Cat or dog?
Dog.
Dog.
Absolutely.
Have you got a dog?
We've been hounding Daddy for a dog here at home, and he says, no, we've got too many kids. So
Listen, Dad.
as soon as we get a bigger home, we're definitely getting a dog.
All right, I'm speaking to Dad right now. Dogs will help babysit the kids. They're great for family. I'm going to put a plug in for you.
Kids don't babysit the dogs. That's what he keeps saying. He says, in the end, I'll be me looking after the dog, but,
Yeah, and he'll love it. Dogs are amazing.
Yeah. They are.
They are another member of the family for sure, but they sometimes are the best and the favourite.
Yeah.
And lastly, classical or rock?
I would have to say classical.
Oh, how lovely.
Funnily enough, when I was 14, I got a scholarship to learn violin for a year.
Wow.
And then just because I did well in a music test, and so my love of the violin started then, but then unfortunately the next year my dad had to pay for the lessons and he couldn't afford it. My dad was on the benefit trying to bring us up.
Yeah.
So I bought a violin a few years ago to help me with mental health and stress relief, and I've been trying to watch YouTube videos, but it's definitely something I want to be able to not master, but just be able to play by the end of my lifetime. It's on my bucket list.
Oh, that's fabulous. That is fabulous. I encourage everyone to do something like that. It's never too late to pick up something that you're passionate about. Yeah.
And everything's on YouTube.
Well, that's true. That's absolutely, you can learn everything. Even how to cut your hair over COVID.
I might not go that far. Chrissy, my hairdresser from Whitby, even she wouldn't let me do that, and I wouldn't be able to trust myself either.
Yes, well, that's fair enough. But you a fairly public figure, so yes, I would suggest you leave that one to the professionals. But for the rest of us, Barbara, it's been absolutely lovely getting to know you today. Good luck with everything going forward.
Thank you.
And
thank you very much to your listeners. And if they've got any questions, just go on to Facebook, we're on Instagram, on Twitter, look for Barbara Edmonds Mana.
106.3 Beach FM.